Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this one, I really wanted to do a complete review of Azure Storage accounts. We have done several different videos here and there to cover different things. This is going to be a little bit balanced where I'm going to go over the theory, give you some slides so you can kind of get and store the knowledge that you need, especially if you're preparing for a certification exam. And at the same time to time we'll stop and do some labs. Okay, so we'll make it not just completely lab type video or training. We'll mix both theory with the lab. So let's get started. So Azure Storage is very diverse, and pretty much anything you can think about storage wise you can use Azure to store that. Supports files, documents, various kind of datasets, blobs, virtual hard disks, okay, and more. Let's go to the next one. So first thing that you need to know that what are the different types of storage accounts that are available at the moment within Azure. If you go, there will be three different kinds. The first one is called the general purpose V1, or the short form is GPV1. Okay, so this one is supported. What to know about this? This is the oldest type of storage, and it supports page blob, block blob, file queue, and stable storage. Now just note that page blob is what you use for storing the virtual hard disks. Block blobs used to store pretty much anything other than the virtual hard disk, like images, videos, stuff like that. It also supports file storage, queue, and stable storage. But this is not the most cost effective. So that's what I want you to know, that although it's an older version, oldest system type of storage, it's not the most cost effective. So if you get a question like that, like which storage account would be most cost effective, you're not going to choose this one if you have another option available, right? But this is the only type of storage that is compatible with the classic deployment model. So again, if somebody asks you, okay, I need to choose a storage account, but I have a classic deployment model that I have to use, I'm still using the legacy system, what is the storage account that you recommend? In that scenario, you would recommend the V1, right? Now let's go to the next slide. Next type is the blob storage. Blob storage, it supports block blobs and the append blobs, and this one does not support the page blobs. And remember, why do we need the page blobs? Page blobs we need to store virtual hard disks. So again, if a question comes up and say, hey, we need to store the VHDs, can we use a blob storage? And your answer would be no. You gotta be using a storage V1 or storage V2, right? Access tier is available for the blob storage. It can be the hot, cool, or archive. Storage version 2, which is a newer and the latest one, that supports all of the blob storage features. Okay, so if you come over here, okay, this is the general purpose V2. This is the latest type of Azure storage. It combines blob feature plus the general purpose V1. That means everything that blob can do plus the GPV1, everything is supported. And again, look at that, this is the cost effective version of it. So no wonder that Microsoft recommends this storage account for most use cases, unless you have a very specific reason. As I said, like legacy system, it's recommended that you should be using this type of storage account. And another thing, if you have a V1, you can very easily upgrade to a V2 type account. All right, now before we go over here, let's do a very quick lab. Okay, So I'm just gonna create a very quick resource, and I'm just gonna start search for storage. Okay, storage account, and I'm gonna create the storage account in here, and I'm gonna use existing virtual machine resource group called test VM, and I'm gonna say v1 test store. Okay, that name is available. STOS premium. Look at that here. This is like, those are the three different kind, as I said: blob storage, storage purpose v1 and v2. So v1 is the oldest one, not cost effective. v2 is the most recent one, most cost effective, and it combines everything that is offered by both storage and the blob storage type. So there's no reason why you should not be using this. But let's create one that's got the v1. I'm not worried about anything else, so I'm just going to create this storage account, and my goal is to show you that even if I have a v1 account, I can easily upgrade my account to a storage v2. Okay, so the deployment, you're getting used to this. We'll do some more deployment in the future as well, and again, you can look at how the deployment is going on for your storage in here or from within the notification bar. And here my resource is ready. So if I go to the resource, okay, and if you look at it, it says account kind is storage general purpose v1. Now in some place, most likely under the configuration, let's see if I have it here. Okay, so under configuration, if you go, you see the account kind is storage general purpose v1. Yeah, that's what we did, but it said there's a warning: this account can be upgraded to a general purpose v2 account with additional features. Upgrading is permanent and will result in billing changes. Okay, now just click on upgrade. Okay, confirm. And what do you need to do? Confirm over, type the selected account name. So let's just copy the name of the account, because that's what we want. We want to use the latest and greatest feature, and just say upgrade. So it's upgrading this account, and now look at that, it becomes a storage 2 account. So if I go back to the overview plate again, now you see my account kind is now storage v2. So that's how easy it is. So if you are using v1, I would highly recommend consider upgrading your account to a v2. It's gonna save you money because it's cheaper, plus it's offer more features. Okay, just think about it. All right, let's go back over here. Now replication is another really important aspect of storage account. What kind of replication you need, and Azure offers several different kinds of replication. Just remember, not all kinds of replications are available in every region. That's what I noticed. The cheapest and the easiest and most commonly used replication would be the locally redundant storage, meaning this replication type will synchronously write your data. It will make 3 copies of your data, but it will be in one single data center only. Okay, so if the whole data center fails, then you may lose the data unless you have a good backup and disk recovery scheme already outlined. Okay, so again, if it's a one rack, you may be okay, because it will be replicated in multiple different update and fault domains. So if one of the update domain fails, the fault domain fails, you're okay. But if the whole data center fails, you are in trouble. But it's the cheapest. Okay, zone redundant storage is the next one, where you are moving out of one single data center, you are going across multiple data centers within a zone. Okay, so it will synchronously write data to 1 or 2 data centers, although in one data center it will still make 3 copies. Okay, similar to LRS. So the high availability is achieved with synchronous replication across 3 different availability zones for your ZRS, which is the zone redundant storage. Let's see what else we have. We have geo redundant storage, GRS. In the geo redundant storage, where now you are going even beyond a zone, okay, you are replicating the data, but you're still within the same region, okay, similar to ZRS, but replicate to one region. You have 3 copies, and then in another region, so you are going beyond a region where you are copying the data, but that copy may not be synchronous. So it will asynchronously copy your data from one region where you already have 3 copies to another region. So in total you have 6 copies of your data available. Although this replication may not be immediately available for use, and Microsoft may have to initiate a failover. So the primary region, if it fails, Microsoft is going to initiate the failover, and then it will take some time before you can really access your data that's been stored in another region. Okay, so that's the downside of it. It's more fault tolerant, but it may take a little bit of time to recover. The next one is a geo zone redundant storage. Okay, this is a newer kind. I have not personally used this too much. Here data is replicated synchronously across 3 Azure availability zones, similar to the GRS. Again, data is replicated asynchronously to the secondary region, but in the secondary region you can enable the read access. Okay, here geo redundant, unless you have a complete failure and Microsoft is initiating a failover, you cannot access the data that is stored in the secondary region. With the geo redundant, you have the option to enable the read access to the secondary region. And most interestingly, this geo redundant storage actually supports 99.99999. It's called 16 nines durability. That's amazing. Or the last one, and which is the most and the best if you think about availability, is the read access geo redundant storage, where your data is replicated across 2 regions, just like this one, geo redundant storage, or geo redundant geo zone redundant storage, or geo redundant storage. But the RA means read access, means your data, the other replicated copy, you can always use it for read purposes. So you don't have to do anything, it's already there. And you will have a primary storage account, and the secondary storage account will be suffixed with a secondary. It will be suffix, okay? And you have your access keys, and everything will be available to you, and you can immediately, instantly, anytime if you want, you can use it. So that's the best option if you're thinking about very high availability. Okay, we'll look into that a little bit more. Okay, maybe go back to our storage account and again go back to the configuration, see if you can see something. Here's our replication, right? So a lot of the things you can design and configure from the configuration blade. Here by default we use the read access geo redundant storage, so that's the best that we can do. Now in this region you see that we have deployed in the East US, and I have only 3 different types of replication available here: the geo redundant storage, the locally redundant storage, and read access geo redundant storage. Now can I change the storage replication after I have a storage account? Let's see. So you change it to locally redundant storage and save, and it says updating storage account, and there we go. So the answer is yes, you can change. And now let's change that to the geo redundant storage. Let's see if that's possible. So what we are trying out here is, can you change your replication status after you have deployed your storage account? And the answer is yes. So we deployed this account as V1, Then we upgraded it to V2, and now we are playing with the replication type, and we see that it can be changed anytime that we like. Okay, so that's good. So let's come to now a type of storage that we have within the Azure Storage account. So let's go back in here, and if you go again back to the overview blade, what you see, you have the container type, file share, tables and queue. Okay, just know the tables and queues are not heavily used for the storage accounts. Most of the time, I either use with the containers or the file share, and the containers used to be called the blob storage, now it's called the container. I guess just to avoid some confusion, because they already have another type of storage called blob storage, and that was causing some real big confusion. So anyway, this is the container storage, is the blob storage that we're talking about here. And this blob storage, you gotta remember a couple things for this type of account or this type of container. It is used to store unstructured data like documents, virtual hard disks, image files, audio files, things like that. Now again, page blob, we already talked about it. If you need to store a virtual hard disk, you gotta use the page blob, and you have a maximum size limit for 1 terabyte for page blobs. Okay, the other type of blob is called a block blob, and you use it to store anything else but the virtual hard disks. There's a third kind of blob that is called append blob. It's not easily available to you. It's internally used by Azure. So when you have a blob and you want to add to that blob, you would be using this kind of append blob, usually used for like log files and stuff like that, where you need to add or append some of the files. Now another thing that you should be aware of for any of these different storage types, how do you copy, how do you transfer data from your machine to Azure. So for blobs or containers, you can use it from the port. You can use something called Azure Storage Explorer, which we'll take a look at in a minute. You can use parcel, CLI, REST API calls, do it programmatically. Lots of options available to you. So let's come back over here. Okay, so I'm not gonna go for every single tabs in here. I have other videos where I have gone over some of these in many great details. I'm trying to keep this video short and sweet and to the point for the exam only. So let's come back to the next slide and see when we should start the lab for the next one. Okay, let's look at this one. So now we know what types of blobs are there, and then what type of access tiers are available. So for blob or containers, you have hot, cool, and archive. Okay, hot means use it for the file that you need constantly, like images, the video files, stuff like that you're running a website, lots of people, popular website, they will be constantly requesting for those files, so use it for hot. So here the storage cost is high, but your access cost to the file is very low. You would be using a cool storage when you know that files you still need it available, but normally maybe it's only accessed once per 30 days. Okay, maybe backup files, something like that. And for archive files, if you know that the file access will not be required for at least 180 days, you go for this type of access tier. But for this one, the access is not immediate, a rehydration is required, and this option is only available at the blob level and not at the storage level. So let's look at that one. So let's see, containers. Right now I do not have any containers. So when you create a container and call, say, blob1, okay, private container anonymous read access is good. Advanced, I don't need to do anything. Let's create a container here real quick. So I got a container, and if I click on the container and go under the properties, This is all good. Access policy is okay. Overview. Access tier is not even nothing. So this access tier is for the file. So if I create a file in here, we'll have different type of access tiers available. So if we can try, let's see, we'll just try something. So I'm just gonna pick up one of the image files that I have, okay, then just upload it. And so if you look at this, as soon as I uploaded, it's created as access tier hot. It's a blob, right? And this is the size of it. Lease state is available. So if I click on it, and if I click on change tier, okay, now if you come over here, I can change it to cool, or I can change it to archive. And but note that setting access tier to archive will make your blob inaccessible until you rehydrate it back to hot or cool, which may take several hours. So just be aware of that. So right now I just changed it, and it's now the access tier is now marked as archive, right? So let's see, access policy, we haven't created any properties, we didn't do anything crazy on that one. This is not required. So so now you know how to go and update the access tier for files. What else you can do? Let's look at the containers one more time. And on that container level, okay, container properties is also not giving me the option. I'm trying to see if I can set a default access tier on that blob. I thought we could do that, but I just don't see it right now. If you come across that, like where to change that, let me know. Edit metadata, it's not in here. Okay, that's fine. Change access level. Okay, so a whole bunch of options is here, but the default access tier at least not available here. I know that I have done this using PowerShell for sure. Let's over here, blob service containers. I'm just gonna look at a couple things over here real quick. This one we have already looked at. Okay, from this level I don't see any access tier, so I guess you just have to go inside for now and apply your access tier on the files itself. Okay, one other thing I'm gonna go back to, or yeah, this is the one that I was trying to go to. So the configuration is available. So by default I want the access tier to be cool. Okay, I can change it over here as well. So that way any file I create, so like if I save this one, okay, so configuration is a good thing. So it says update fail and you read why it failed. So there might be failed update storage account, failed value request parameters are invalid. So the SKU type that we are using, so we are using a geo redundant storage. Okay, so you cannot just use a cool storage for a geo redundant storage most likely. So maybe try a locally redundant and then try save and use cool feature, and there we go. Now you have successfully updated your storage account, and it may take up to 30 seconds to take effect. So for access tier, if you want to change, you gotta use the right SKU. Okay, so just to see if everything is working, we'll go back inside the storage and we'll upload another file real quick. And since we have changed the default to cool, and look at that, now it is coming up as cool. So we didn't see any option to default all the files to archive access tier. So now if you want to make this archived or hot, again you go there and change tier, and then from here either you can make it archive or maybe let's put it back as hot. So there we go, available. This one is archive, this is hot. Alright, so let's go back to our slides. So we covered the access tiers and how you can set and configure your access. Come back over here. Okay, while we are doing this, let's do a couple other things. The next thing that we're going to cover is the file storage. So file storage is really a file share that you can mount on Windows or Linux or Mac. You can mount it for multiple users. If you have, they can all access the same file share. It supports the SMB protocol, and it can be mounted and accessed by multiple users, multiple machines. You can also use the Azure Storage REST API to access and manipulate those files. So again, go back to the resources and I'll show you how to create a file share. Okay, so there are the containers, we looked at it. So here's a file share, and again from here let's just call file share 1. Okay, you can provide a quota, let's say 2 gigs, and just say create. And over here, edit quota, edit metadata, view snapshot, and delete share. These are all self-explanatory. So if I go inside the file share, okay, I can upload say the same file that I uploaded on the other side, and just say upload. Okay, and upload is completed, so you can call cross. Now one thing you notice that here we don't have any option for the access tier. Okay, so the access tier is only supported when you're using the blob storage of the container. Okay, so here there's no option, no hot and cool and whatever is not there. So that's one thing that I wanted to stress and make sure that you understand that this hot, cool and everything, it only applies to the blob storage, which is now a container storage within within a Azure Storage account. Alright, so that's been cleared. Let's go to the next slide. Disk storage. Now this is, I'm just going to talk about the disk stored within the blob storage, and there are two different kind of disks that usually gets created: the operating system disk and a temporary disk. This is which will be available even after a reboot, but your temporary disk, you typically lose your data. And this disk storage, that can come as a standard tier or a premium tier. Standard tier is most common, it's cost effective, and you can use LRS or GRS. Premium tier is really only SSD. Okay, standard you can still have SSD or HDD, and this is used for selected type of Azure VM series like DS, DS-V2, GS, LS or FS series Azure VMs. Now this one you will not see within a storage account. So what we need to do to look at those two types of account, we need to create a virtual machine. Let's see, we may not need to create a complete virtual machine, but I'll start there. Okay, let's just search for virtual machine here maybe. So when you get to there, let's try to create a virtual machine and see what happens. Okay, so name test, let's create a Windows. Okay, and let's put it in our STUS. No infrastructure, Ubuntu is not what we want say Windows 2012. Alright, no, and then just get get something. Select size. I always want to use something that's cost less. So that's available to me, so I'm gonna use something that's cheaper. So $10 is fine. It's gonna give you one virtual core, 1 gigs of RAM, 2 data disk, and 320 max IOPS, 4 gigs of temporary storage. Premium disk is still supported in this one, so yeah, looks good. Username, let's do something student and put a password. Alright, so these we don't care about. Disk is where we're gonna spend a little bit of time. So here you see you have premium disk, standard disk, okay, standard HDD or standard SSD. So if you change premium to anything else, okay, you will see this warning message that the selected VM size supports premium disk. We recommend premium SSD for high IOPS workloads. Virtual machines with premium disk qualify for the 99.9 connectivity SLA. Okay, so let's see. I don't here. That's all good. Create, attach new disk, advanced. Let's see if I have use managed disk. Okay, so that's something else that Azure always recommends you that you use the managed disks. The disk, although you are going to create a VHD file, this disk will be stored inside a storage account. And if you use the managed disk, the creation of the storage account, replication, availability, everything will be managed by Azure. So you don't have to do anything else. But if you want to use the managed disk, here you're gonna have to say no, and here you're gonna use one of the storage account that you already have, or you can create a new one. But you look at it, it says we recommend Azure managed disk. The key benefits is usage, high fault tolerance. Managed disk is an availability set are spread across multiple storage fault domains to protect against single points of failure. Industry leading high availability. Managed disk in availability zones of a 99.99% SLA. And greater scale, create up to 50,000 managed disks per subscription per region. Okay, if you still want to use that, so let's test wins group disk is gonna be the name of the disk, right? So let's just use that and let's see what happens. Okay, the rest we are not interested in, so I'm just gonna go real quick. And in this one, it says validation failed. It says the selected disk type not supported by the unmanaged disk. So just go with HDD and let's do the validation again. So the standard hard disk should be available. So validation passed. So let's create this machine. So what I'm interested in seeing, so usually when you go for the managed disk, where it's exactly creating your virtual hard disk is not available within your storage account. Okay, but if you create unmanaged, okay, in that storage account you should be able to see a virtual hard disk, and we'll take a look into that as soon as this deployment is done. Okay, while this deployment is going on, let's go back to a storage account. Let's see what else do we need to cover. So we covered the disk storage. There is something else, ultra disk storage as well. If you want to use it, it's available for some of the Azure infrastructure as a service virtual machines, where you need a very high input output operations, high throughput, and very low latency type operations. If you have high transaction heavy workload, you may want to use a ultra disk storage. Okay, let's see, manage and unmanaged. This is what we are looking at right now. As we are deploying, just a rule of thumb, just go for the managed disk as much as possible. Give the responsibility of managing all the disk to Azure, and you enjoy some comfort. Uh, Here I wanted to do a lab. We already created the storage account. A storage explorer is something we'll just look at in a little bit and play with it some. And then a couple more slides we'll look at this network access and the keys, how to make your account very secure, and then we can end our this presentation. So while this is going on, this is still going on, let's talk about the storage explorer. Now storage explorer is wonderful. So what I'm gonna do, here's my storage explorer. I have already installed it. You can also like do a search of it, and I'm using a Ubuntu virtual machine. The storage explorer is cross-platform. You can install it in Linux, in Windows, in Mac, everywhere it's supported, and it's excellent. It's wonderful and highly recommended. And even if you go back to our Azure environment, go back to our store, v1 test store, and most likely you will see the Azure Storage Explorer in a preview mode. Where is it? Yeah, Storage Explorer preview. So if you look at it, it's so good. So it's available even as a service. Okay, you can just click on this, click on the blob, right, file share, click on the file share. So these are the things that we have already created. And it's just like a file share, and you're able to do everything from here as well, upload, download, and stuff like that. Now over here, okay, close. Add an account. So there are multiple ways how you connect your account to the Azure Storage account. So in this one, what it's telling me, subscription could not be loaded. Please try to re-entering your credential, removing and adding the account. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add the account. So here there are many options. As I said, you can just go with the Azure account. You can use it with connection string, SAS, storage account name and key, or you can even emulate without even connecting to anything. Okay, so if we stick to that one, just Azure, it's just gonna tell you just sign into your account. So this is my account that I'm using, AZLabs 2021. So AZLabs 2021 at outlook.com. Let's see what else it needs from me. My password. Okay, hope I have the password, the correct password with me. Pick an account. What is this? Okay, the other thing we need. Okay, so now it's saying that, hey, let's verify your account. So let's try that. Let's verify my account. Let's see my text. Let's go to the text. Last 4 digits of your phone number. Okay, now send the code. Alright, I got a code. Let's see, 6518941. So verify. So there we go. So now, now this is really weird. Alright, what I'll do, I'll pause the video. If it doesn't work, I'll have to pause the video and reconnect and then start the video again. 0 8 9 3 4 6 5. Maybe I typed that code wrong. No. So what the other thing that could be happening, I don't have access, I didn't give an access to the storage account from my local network. So let's review that one first. Okay, so this is what you're gonna see. So let's come back to that one in a minute. I'm just gonna remove this one for now and say yes. Okay, so what we'll do, let's go back to our virtual machine. Let's finish up that one. Okay, so we started deploying our Windows where we have used a managed disk, and this deployment looks like it's running. Everything looks good. Disks, if I go there, disk caching cannot be changed. Ultra disk can only available when using managed disk. So that's another thing we talked about the ultra disk just very briefly. And now we have a disk, and let's see where the disk is. Okay, this is the disk, and these are some information about the disk. Now you don't see that. Okay, so let's come back to here, and this we said to deploy under a storage account. So let's go to a storage accounts as well. So here, if you go to the storage account, it should have created test wins group disk. So this is the storage account, and we know that the disk can only be stored within a blob storage, which is a container storage. So here, look at that, it created a folder, it's said private, and it leased, and it's called a VHDs. So if you get inside that one, look at that, that's a VHD file. And as we said before, your VHD files, they are saved as a page blob, and this one got 127 gigs. Okay, so we are good up to this point. So let's verify a couple things before we try to access our storage account from here again. Okay, so first I'm gonna go to the configuration one more time, and let's see, allow blob public access, that is enabled, that is good. Azure Active Directory domain services Azure, this is disabled. So this one is saying the storage account is enabled for identity based access from on-premises AD on the one directory can be enabled at a time. How to domain join? Okay, so the next, this is interesting. Okay, that's a test wins group disk. Okay, we're interested in that one. We are interested in this one. So this one is the one that we're working on. So here, let's see. This is still the storage V2. That's where we want to go to. Here is still disabled. Okay, that's fine. That all looks good. Public access is enabled. The next thing we want to look at is the firewall and the virtual networks. I want to make sure allow access from all network is enabled, so that is good. Microsoft network routing endpoint, good. Microsoft network routing endpoint, so this all also looks good. Look at advanced security. I don't think it has anything for yeah, so this is not what we want. So let's go back, and what we want to do, instead of using our domain account, I wanna try to use the other thing, the storage account. Okay, so let's with the use a connection string. Let's see if this works. So connection string, storage account name. Actually, just get the connection string from here, paste it here, see if that works. There we go. So that connection string worked just fine. So now successfully added a new connection. Okay, so now if you look at it, I got the storage account. Here's the blob container. I'm still not seeing the one that I need to see here. V1 test. So this is the one where we have created. Okay, so these are the other storage that I have available within my account. So, but this is the one that we're working with. So inside here we created this blob one, right? In here we created 2 image files. So here we go. So they are also available. Under file share we also created a file. Okay, so the file share, inside that I have a file. This is the file that's also available. So this is how easy it is to connect. I gotta play some more with the other account type why it was not working. Most likely I have to give myself some RBAC role permission before I can use that option. But you have other option as well to connect to this machine, and that would be using your SAS keys. So here I have used this connection string, right? So if I change this key, okay, what do you think is gonna happen? So I just changed this key. So if I come over here, okay, and let's close this one, and can I refresh it? Refresh all. I'll do refresh all. Let's go to storage account. Let's go to this one again, blob container. Look at that, what happened. Okay, so I just lost my connection to the storage account because I have changed the key, and that's in a way a beauty. So if you know that this key is compromised, you can just go and change the key. But look at that you have 2 different access keys given by Azure. So if you have other applications where it's running, and if you don't want to break the connectivity, you go ahead and tell the other application, hey, I'm going to change this key, but temporarily while I do that, please use this key. Okay, give them this key, and this key would be working while you perform this change. When it's done, give them back, hey, again, this is the key, this is my primary key, please use this one, and take the other key back. And if you want, you can even change that one, right? So the other way, so the problem is if you give this, okay, as you see that this is like a master key, they will have access to everything, which you sometimes do not want. So to stop that, a better solution is to create a shared access signature. Now, shared access signature, if you read this description, it's a URI that grants restricted access rights to Azure storage resources. You can provide a shared access signature to clients who should not be trusted with your storage account key, but whom you wish to delegate access to certain storage account resources. By distributing a shared access signature, these clients, you grant them access to resources for a specific period of time. Like here in this, you can give access to blob, file, queue, table, all 4 of them. Allow resource types, service, container, object. Allowed permission, you can all give them all the read permission, only write if you like, okay, delete, list, add, whatever. And then you can set a start and the date of expiry. So today is 8/11. I usually go at least a day back and go maybe 2 days from now on. And then if you want allowed IP address, you can add those, and signing key. So that's pretty much all you need to. Here I'm missing something. What am I missing? So allowed service types, so you have to use service, container, object. I'm going to use all 3 of them. and now you have this button available, so you can click on generate your SAS key. Now look at that, I have a new connection string, so I can copy this one again. I can go back to our storage account. Let's see if I can open it. So close, collapse all, add an account. Okay, collapse all, use a SAS URI is the next thing that I'm going to use. So URI, let's see if we just plot. That didn't take it. SAS URI, what is SAS URI? Blob SAS URI. I think I can take any of these URIs, so let's copy this one. There we go. So it picked up the URI for blob, file, queue and table, and hit next and connect. So this is your connection that is just got created. Okay, so under this one, now again, if you go there, here is my blob, and within the blob here are my files. One of them is archived, another one is hot. Here's the file share, here's the file, this is the file. So if I now want, I can upload more file, download file, do all kinds of stuff with it. Alright, so the last thing I kind of want to tell you, that if you want to make your storage account more secure, you should always restrict your access from selected networks. Okay, and then ideally you should create a new virtual network or add to existing virtual network. So if you create a new virtual network, okay, and then call it maybe secure network, whatever address space you want to use, resource group is fine, everything looks good, firewall good, just create a network. So all you are doing, you're telling, hey, only this network will be able to use this virtual machine. So that will make your storage account very, very secure. Now, one thing that you're gonna lose connection from your machine to the storage account now, since we have created this. Now if I save this one, right, then we will not be able to get to the machine because I have only saying that this is the connection that I have. You can try adding your own IP address over here, so you know that you're gonna have access from your own IP address of your machine. So typically what you would do, you would create this subnet, then deploy some other virtual machine in this subnet, and then access this storage account going to a virtual machine that is deployed in this particular subnet, and then accessing it. Okay, so I think we have covered a lot of material and a lot of good stuff and everything important for the exam. So replication we already went over. So the last thing I wanted to mention, there's a book that I would like to highly recommend to everyone. It's called the Microsoft Azure Architect Technologies Exam Guide AZ300 by Shuju Kezal. I can't pronounce his name. This book is available from Pact Publishing, and I kind of studied the book and I really enjoyed the book. So if you need further information, please take a look at the book, and I think that would be very helpful. Okay, with that, I would like to end this video here on storage account. Hopefully you have a good understanding. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe. If you're studying for the exam, good luck. Thank you.